Okay, this is now the 5-minute tarot for the 21st of April 2017. And it's another one about combining cards. And so I picked 3 cards and I'll talk about how we can blend them or what we can do with them, even though we don't know what the question is. And then I want to end with a reference to something that I mentioned a couple of days ago about the Two Swords reverse and about how it can represent indecision. Okay, so I shuffled a few minutes ago and picked 3 cards. The first one I got was the King of Coins reversed. Then I picked a second one and I got the Knight of Batons and it was upright. And then the third card that I got was the Wheel of Fortune and it was upright as well. So there's a JPEG on screen and we've got the 3 cards. So we're not, again, I'd emphasize, we're not looking at them side by side because that can make us think of past, present, and future, or yes and no. We're just looking to see what sense we can make of these 3 cards, how they work together, how they maybe work against each other, what they've got going for them, what they've got going against them, and how they can maybe reinforce a message or they can contradict each other. So I was looking at the king. I wasn't bothering with the fact that it was upside down, but we've got a king and we've got a knight, and those are 2 people. So maybe this spread or these 3 cards are about young versus old, right? Or it's youth represented by the knight versus age and experience represented by the king. But because the king is upside down, maybe what we've got here is the old king has had his day and it's time for a change. And the change is the Wheel of Fortune. So you've got the old king who's been around for long enough. He's lost his way. He doesn't know what he's doing anymore. He's past it. It's meant to be. His influence or power or methods are meant to be replaced by a younger version, a more dynamic, more effective way, because maybe the king has outgrown his usefulness. So we've got young versus old, or young being replaced, or rather old being replaced by young. And the replacement idea comes from the Wheel of Fortune because it represents change and the natural end of one cycle, let's say, in the beginning of a new one. Though, depending on the question that was asked, we've got the king and the knight. It may make more sense to say that the king and the knight should take turns, right? So instead of the king being finished and the knight taking over, maybe what's important is that you think or understand there are 2 approaches, not just one, and that one approach will work for a while, then it's supposed to give way to the other approach. And then after the second approach has had its time in the sun, so to speak, then it's time for it to give way to maybe an older or an earlier version, or to an alternative version, right? So with the king and the knight, we've got 2 approaches, not just one. Or maybe because we've got the king reversed and the knight upright, we think about how they can help each other. So if we look at the knight and think, what can the knight learn from the reversed King of Pentacles? Maybe what the knight learns is he doesn't get too far ahead of himself, right? Because knights are young and youthful and enthusiastic, and they can just rush into things and take on more than they can actually handle. But the King of Pentacles can be a steadying force that gets the knight to take small steps and instead of huge leaps. And because the king is the King of Pentacles, which represent money, but they also represent values, then the king can teach the knight that it's important to know what you value. And once you know your values, you're going to be able to make better decisions, or you're going to know the direction in which you want to go, in the direction that it makes sense to move in. And then what can the king learn from the knight? Maybe the king can learn from the knight that it's not a good idea to get stuck, and you have to be willing to move and experiment and try something new. because I'm saying that because the king is upside down. So it's as if the king's got stuck, or is too dependent on what has been around for a long time. And it may have worked well once upon a time, but that doesn't mean it's always going to work as well. And the knight can be a breath of fresh air, let's say. So the reverse king can learn from the knight in that way, that sometimes it's important to move on, or to experiment, or to try something new. And I was thinking about the Wheel of Fortune can mean that, involved with these two cards, it can mean that there isn't just one right answer. And that made me think that you can do 4 readings one after the other, right? 4 readings in 2 hours, let's say. So you get 4 different people, but each one of them has a problem with procrastination. And so it can mean, it doesn't mean that you're going to tell them the same thing. 4 different people, you tell them the same thing. You can help each of them deal with procrastination in a different way. So it's a bit like there's more than one way to solve the same problem. And this can be the value of the tarot, in that the cards that come up are tailored to fit the person at that time and in those circumstances. So, and that can be what the Wheel of Fortune is telling us, that there isn't just one answer, or there isn't just one way to do things. There's a variety, and things will come into play, or they'll be relevant for the particular situation, but then they move out of relevance. So there's a constant coming and going, moving into and out of focus, let's say, or being valuable and then being less valuable. So it's important to be aware of what's going on at that particular time when the Wheel of Fortune card comes up. So the thing was, this ties in with the 2 of Swords reverse from a couple of days ago, and I mentioned that the 2 of Swords reverse can represent indecision. And so if we decide that the 2 of Swords is indecision, the reader can make suggestions about how the questioner can come to make a decision. And it's as if the tarot shows the problem and the reader offers solutions. So you've got a problem with indecision, try this. So the reader offers solutions, maybe from your general knowledge or the reading that you've done or the things you've heard. But maybe it's the suggestion that you make is based on a card that you've chosen. So let's say the question is, I'm indecisive, how do I make a decision? And you get the King of Coins. So the answer is take charge. Or one answer can be, in order to come to make a decision, decide that you're going to take charge, because kings are in charge. And it can be that your experience, your indecision rather, comes from not having experience with the particular situation you're dealing with. Whereas if you decide you're going to take charge, you're going to get the experience and then you're going to be able to decide. Or again, somebody else has a problem with indecision and you get the Knight of Batons. So what do? You try something new. Because it can be that your indecision is happening because the right option isn't in the mix. Right? You can't decide between plan A, B, or C, but none of those plans is particularly good. You don't like any of them. But if you act like the Knight of Batons, you come up with a plan D that is more to your liking, and then you're going to be motivated to actually choose and decide that you're going to go with plan D because it makes sense to you. But you don't get that if you don't explore a bit and come up with a plan D in the first place. Okay, that was it for today. I tried to make this shorter than yesterday. I don't know if I succeeded. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.